Are you a digitally savvy or aspiring travel business owner wanting to shake things up in 2023? Then you need to join us for the Travel Trend Summit on the Gold Coast in May. Travel Trend is the ultimate one-day live event that is hell-bent on bridging the gap between our travel business owners and their untapped potential of successfully having a standout travel brand. Want more? Head to stephaниemyers.academy/travel trend and grab your tickets now. Trust me when I say that this is an event you do not want to miss. Be quick, as tickets are only strictly limited. See you there. Hey, I'm Steph, and I'm obsessed with all things travel, marketing, branding, and helping you stand out from the crowd. In just under 2 years, I went from being a home-based travel agent with zero clue how to make it work in the digital world to launching an international ranking travel podcast and creating an online course to help travel agents in lead generation. Here's one thing I know for sure: there has never in the history of the world been a better time to create the travel business you've always wanted. All you need is an actionable strategy and someone to show you the way. Picture this: we're going to spend the next hour of our time together at the Swim Up Pool Bar, where over a cocktail, we deep dive into travel-related topics, mixed with a little classroom training. This show is dedicated to encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and into your travel business. I'll show you how I did it and how you can too. Hit subscribe now and let's get into it. If you're a travel agent wanting to stand out in the digital world but you struggle with consistency, tech isn't your jam and you have no idea where to start, join my free masterclass where I talk about exactly this. Head to stephaниemyers.academy/masterclass. You're listening to Unplug in Paradise, the podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining me back on the podcast today. It's so good to be back. And I just wanted to mention, if you haven't yet listened to episode number 58 of the podcast, our recent episode with Kate Nutt, I suggest that you put me on pause now and go over and listen. You're going to not want to miss this. Kate is one of our guest speakers at our upcoming event on the Gold Coast in May, the Travel Trend Summit. She's going to grace us with her presence on stage, as well as covering all the photography for the event. And for those who are coming along and who have booked in their one-on-one branding sessions for the following day, let me say you are in for an absolute treat. So you get to spend some one-on-one time with Kate in person, getting those branding shots ready to put on your website, on your socials, and those hero images that need to run through our marketing strategies on a daily basis. So looking forward to hearing your perspective and your feedback on the episode. I know it's been super popular because I am looking at the stats in the back end and it's just going berserk. So thanks, Kate, for joining us on that particular episode. It was so good to chat. Now, in today's episode, I want to talk about what it takes to build and break the mold in your travel business when things aren't feeling quite right, and what steps you can take to help welcome in more fun, more of what brings you joy, and what brings you more happiness. And this could go for life as well as business. And I know majority of the people who do tune into the Unplug in Paradise podcast are home-based agents. So you'd be definitely feeling me right now if you are kind of in this place at the moment that just feels a bit ick. Because at the moment, what I'm seeing is that there is a massive shift towards prioritizing what keeps us busy, which leaves very little time for things like reflection and simply checking in with ourselves and how we're feeling and how things, how things are going in our businesses right now. So, what do we want to change in our business? Do we even know what needs to change, but is something that we aren't putting the time to implement or plan for right now? What things keep reoccurring or keep coming up for you that constantly remind you, oh, yeah, I've got to do that. When you put it on your list, but it ends up being buried because your list is never ending. So if you definitely relate, you're probably sitting there going, yep, I can feel you. So I see you on this. So, okay, here's the deal. If your goal inside of your business is to make more sales, be attracting like minded clientele and selling the products that you absolutely love and that you are the expert in, and you enjoy a more cohesive and fulfilling business, then taking on more work isn't necessarily going to be the right decision because you will only be running yourself into the ground and you will not be looking after yourself. And it's not the direction that you want to be heading in. So, if you struggle with keeping time, staying true to what you truly love to talk about, or you feel like you might be swaying into dangerous territory and you know, you're in a car and the lines are blurring together because you're just going a little bit too quick, then you simply have way too many pans on the stove. Then I do want to help shed some light on this for you because, we can either help monitor your workflow, do things like that. We can improve on the things that you would like to change, or we can completely just bust down the door, bust it wide open on absolutely everything and begin to slowly build the business that you've always dreamt of. So, when I was planning out this episode, I sat for quite a while contemplating the four biggest vitals to creating the business that I have today, which are going to hopefully help you to break through that funk that you've been in for a month now, or that lull that you might have been experiencing for longer than a month, and you're no longer enjoying the way that you do business. And a side note for those building a business right now, or in many cases for our travel agent community, those who are rebuilding a business would know that it's not for the faint of heart. But we do it because we're passionate. And I think it has a lot to say about how far our passion can take us when it comes to doing something that we really, really love. So when it doesn't feel like a passion anymore and it feels more like a labor of love, that's when things start to get complicated and emotions start snowballing. And before you know it, you're running a business that you barely recognize. And we do not want that. I can't stress enough how important it is to get this stuff right from the outset. And is something that I wish someone came and told me about years ago. So, vital number one I want to share is setting your internal boundaries. Now, there are so many aspects to the nuance of internal boundaries that I'm sure that you've most likely uncovered in your journey in this new travel movement that we're in at the moment. But I want to draw particular attention to the internal boundaries that play the part in where you perceive and what you perceive to be important. Okay. So, in your business on a day to day basis, what do you perceive to be important? Is it actively serving your clients? Is it jumping onto back to back product webinars and keeping updated? Or is it spending time online researching the perfect destination, doing all of the things that's involved for us travel agents to get the job done? There needs to be a big mindset shift here because the number one thing I hear from agents is that they feel that they can never do enough work to gain the recognition or praise to celebrate their own input. So I'll say that again. The number one thing that I hear from agents is that they feel they can never do enough work to gain the recognition or praise to celebrate the work that they put in, which is absolutely massive. And what this says to me is that we've conditioned ourselves to downplay our massive efforts that we do on the daily without the right level of recognition in which we could expect from a job well done, right? And it's not flicking on that switch in our minds that we have done enough, that we are deserving to celebrate after a big day in the office. And the agents I speak to a lot about this are ones who have been in their businesses for a long, long time. which tells me that this has been something that has been hanging over their heads and has have overarched every action that they've taken during their travel agent career, which is just absolutely insane. But to be brutally honest, I don't know about you, but this doesn't surprise me. It's not emotion that surprises me because what it is that what do we know that is to be true about our industry? It's that number one, things haven't changed in the last 30 odd years. And many, like like many of us, we only do what it is that we are hardwired to do. And there's no questions asked. Because of the constant conditioning in our industry, in our high aim to please, it's through our daily habits that we continue to reinforce into our business. And for example, like not answering the phone on the second ring could suggest that we don't want the business or we're unprofessional. Not wearing a uniform if you're going to a client meetup. That could be deemed as unprofessional as well, or turning down a client just for the sake of, the product or itinerary or person just doesn't align with the business. You could be perceived as being ungrateful, unhelpful, or probably, in most cases, a little bit rude. But, what this constant conditioning does is, when we work in an industry with such deep rooted oppression, what then happens if we choose to go against the grain? What if one day we suddenly decide that we're not going to be a part of this culture that reinforces this measurement of success, profits from it, and then continually to perpetuate it, keeping the cycle strong and alive? What would it feel like to know that there is another way to measure your success? To be truly recognized for your skill set, your expertise, and personal experiences that make up all of you in your business and as the human being behind the scenes. It would be almost pretty seductive, right? Like I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. So, when do you decide to do things differently that don't serve you anymore and that don't bring happiness into your everyday life? When do you stop yourself in your tracks and decide, yes, okay, finally doing this. I'm stripping everything back to bare bones and I'm only going to keep the things that really make me happy and that I really like that I've built in my business and that I value the most? Because number one, the struggle with worthiness, which is something that we are fighting on a daily basis, may still be present and it's still going to be a very real thing for us. But you now will be choosing to honor yourself and where your energy goes on a day to day basis, which is only going to give you the foundations to plan out your goals, make sure they're solid, and make sure that you are solidifying your internal boundaries in a much more effective way. So, from here on in, if you're tuning in, I want you to be really super intentional about how you do plan out your week and what you do give your energy to. Be sure to check in with yourself weekly. Check that you're okay. Check that you're happy with the way that things are going, that you're happy with the work that you're producing, and you're happy with the people that you are serving. Because what we do is tough work. And we know that we never give ourselves far enough grace. So if you're one of those agents feeling me on this right now, I want you to jump into my DMs. I want you to let me know if you're struggling with anything at all because I think it's super healthy to get things off your chest. And who knows, like you don't know where the conversation will lead you, right? So if you are feeling something, let me know. I would love to chat it out with you. Because here we are being the expert in our travel niche and inside of the industry. It is hard work, it is hard to maintain, but please, I want you to always remember that you are terrific at what it is that you do. You do not need external validation on your incredible skill set to know that you're doing a good job and you are changing lives and creating impact in what your travel niche. So, vital number two, I love this one. It's time blocking and setting an agenda. Now, time blocking is not a new concept, but it is such an undervalued tactic and skill that is only destined to strengthen your business. Because if you aren't seen to be honoring your time, your own time, who else is going to? That goes for things inside the business too. So, like opting in to catch the replay on product updates, for example, instead of pausing everything that you've got going on during the day to join that 11 a.m. webinar, which just so happens to be slap bang in the middle of your peak work time. Because working out your agenda for the weeks and months ahead, if you are that organized, and I do encourage that you are, it's vital to maximize your productivity. So here's how we're going to do it. Number one, when you are consciously choosing to harness the moments when you're researching for a client, doing all the itinerary building and, meeting up with clients out and about, it ultimately puts you into a productive mode. Productive mode is the mode where you're getting all the things done. You're ticking things off the list and things are feeling good and you're making that solid progress. Number two is when you're in creative mode, you're ready to open up your mind to learning something new, such as watching a product update or an online webinar. Whenever you're tapping into another part of your brain that opens up your creative and intrinsic pathways, you're ultimately letting in that higher quality of life for yourself. You can never be it can never be something that you can just flick the switch on and, flick it on and off. So when it says to us being creative, it's like it's the constant narrative. Like, I am not a creative person. I can guarantee that you are. You just don't know how to flick the switch yet. Or some people say, and I know that I definitely say this to myself, is that it's hard to feel or it's hard to be in a creative state right now. And you've got to honor those seasons, which is why I'm referring to there's days that are going to be quite productive and you've got to stay in that mode to get those jobs done. And then you've got days that are creative where you're in creative mode and you've got to stay in that stage to make sure that you're getting all of those creative things done. Because your brain has to be in a state to be doing those certain activities, right? Otherwise, there's no point in mishmashing your day uh, because you're not going to get all the things done. And you want to make sure that you are working in a way that serves your unique and natural workflow. Because what I can share from personal experience is that this is something that I've struggled with, is getting into that creative headspace, like I mentioned. When I'm working on a project, all I want to do is get it done. And sometimes if something else interrupts me and I need to focus on a productivity task or something, if I need to quickly jump out of my content creation or my podcast planning and jump into, serving a client, I'm not doing myself any favors because I know full well that I don't function well like this. So, what works for me is having days where I'm creative and blocking out those days for productivity. So, each day is never obviously going to give us that perfect balance, but understanding your very own cycle is, I promise, going to be fast become your most favorite thing. And you can thank me later. Because we know this, right? Generally, travel agents that I chat to all the time are flipping from this to that fairly quickly. And trust me, it's a running rhetoric. It's definitely a reputable skill that we have. But at the same time, it's not the best use of our energy because it's taking away from actually being truly present and intentional about what we do in our day, in our week, in our month, or even our year. Time blocking your week also plays into how you plan to set up and smash your goals that you set for yourself. So, for you to feel successful, you need to make sure that you are honoring your time and feeding into what works for you. And a little tip, what I've learned is that you need to also, rather than having your calendar so chock-a-block that there is no wiggle room for anything, make sure that you have enough white space. So this is prioritizing white space in your day. Don't feel like you have to fill in these gaps just to be more productive, because here's the deal. You don't achieve more by doing more. You achieve more by doing less because you're allowing yourself space to actually sink in to the direction that you want to take your business, not just flip-flopping on the surface from one thing to another, wondering why you never have time to dedicate to the important things that your business lacks. Now, vital number 3 is your inputs versus outputs. Now, these are measurements for the tasks that you have set inside of your business, and they're going to get split up into 2 categories. One being your input, which is all of the things that you do inside of your business, within the business itself. And number 2 being your output, which is what you do to work on the business and what you do to put out there and what you produce to put out there in the world. So, input, very much what you do inside the business behind the scenes, working with clients, most likely a lot of that productive tasks. And the output is most likely your social media posts, the way that you collaborate, and the way that you promote yourself outside of the business, which is most likely your creative state. So, to make this a super actionable task for you, I want you to set yourself a little mini challenge. So, when you get a moment after this podcast episode, perhaps write down a list of all of the things that you do or all of the things that you need to do in your business, or both, preferably both. And you're going to go, okay, cool, Steph, I haven't got, 6 hours to write down everything I need to do in my business. It doesn't have to be every single little thing, but just the big rocks that you know that you've got to tackle on a weekly or monthly basis. So once you've written them all down, I want you to then categorize them into the 2 buckets. Categorize the ones that are going into your bucket number 1, which is your inputs into the business, and the others are going to go into your output. Now, if you're mentally doing this if you're driving in the car or if you're at the gym or you're going on a walk, if you're mentally doing this right now, I can guarantee that you've probably already arrived to the conclusion that you have way more tasks in your input bucket as opposed to your output bucket. If this is the case, you're most likely needing to do a business audit to make sure that you are maximizing your time efficiently, maximizing your promotions and content marketing for your business, as well as everything else that's required of you on a day-to-day basis. Because let's be real, what's the first thing that we tend to forget about when we're busy? What's the first thing that jumps off the back of the wagon when the wagon's full of all the things that we've got to do? We know it's like the elephant in the room that we're not addressing. So yes, all of the tasks that we consider being in the output bucket gets left on the back burner like it's an optional thing. But let me tell you right now, if it's not something that's labeled a priority in your business, then there is very little chance of you achieving the very thing that you have set out to truly do to make your business your own and celebrate the small wins that come with doing the work and being recognized for the expert that you are, which of course then sets up on a happier path to creating that work-life balance that we've always been striving for, right? Even more so now than more than ever. So vital number 4 is assessing your return on investments. What are you currently implementing into your business? How are you investing your time, your money, and your energy? And what is the outcome? Like, what is the end goal? Is this serving me in the long haul, or is this just something to satisfy me now in the business for the short term? Will this help transform my business into what I want it to be or what I want it to look like? Am I creating a business to someone else's dreams or someone else's standards of what success looks like? There's so many questions to ask, but I suppose the most important one is, will this be something that I can use in my business on a daily basis in regards to investing? So whether it's an online tool like, something with a monthly subscription, and let's take Canva for an example. This is something that I use in my business daily. So yes, it's an absolute no-brainer for me to have that continued investment. But this might not be as simple or as clear for a travel agent who is just way too busy doing all of the things that they invest in whatever they think they need because they feel like it'll help solve that problem for them right in that moment. So ultimately, the only thing they're investing in is the shiny silver bullet strategy, right? Like they want the one thing that will just fix everything for them. So, no, I must say, we need to be smarter than this because, like all of my other digital offerings, like it's a no brainer for the right person to make that right investment, right? But if it aligns and ticks all the boxes for your business, it is helping you create a business that is going to be more cohesive with your needs, make you happier. A happier version of yourself is always welcome. Then, absolutely, hell yes to all the investments. So, today, I suppose I'm going to leave you with that when it comes to investing, don't be scared to spend the money. Money is something that comes and goes, as we know. It's kind of like that grandpa telling you, oh, money comes and goes. You can never get enough of it, which is true, right? But when we're in an industry where we are so used to getting things for nothing, or getting things for a discount, or getting things for free, we are a little bit spoilt. We are like got that only child syndrome somewhat when it comes to actually investing money into our businesses. And I know I've spoken to a lot of people inside of my program, Travel Agent Runway, who they have made an active decision to invest in their business. So otherwise, they wouldn't be in the course. And like our upcoming event, Travel Trend on the Gold Coast in May, that is also an investment. It's not a ticket cost. It's not priced to just be a fun thing to do for the day or a nice networking lunch. It'd be nice to get a free lunch somewhere if, there's enough sponsors on board or whatever. It's an investment in you as a business owner, as a person, and also there is nothing like this that exists in the industry, right? Like every other travel event that we have, generically speaking, like I've been in the industry for 15 plus years, so I've been to my fair share of events. It can be quite boring, repetitive, and you walk out with a brain full of stuff. You just, of people and companies and suppliers, trying to sell you so you can then on sell that product or destination or cruise line tour operator to your clients. So you're being sold to all day, but there's no like really positive energy exchange there. Like, how are those suppliers helping you get that business? Are they going to bring business to you? Are they going to teach you the tools on how to bring that business to you? Probably not. It's up to you as a business owner to take that initiative and realize what is out there to help you be the best version of yourself in business and really attract the correct person and your perfect fit client into your business. There are so many things out there like, digital platforms and copywriting, and, you've got to have the right mindset for these sorts of things. So this is why Travel Trend was born. It was born to help give you a really solid outcome and a solid transformation. And it's basically like that life-changing event that when you leave the event, you do not have permission to go back to doing things in your business the way that they've always been done. So it's almost like a gift to yourself. So if you feel like you're needing a gift to yourself and you have potentially, let things go over the course of the pandemic, and that things have just been so busy, you haven't honored that person who made promises to themselves when things were very, deathly quiet in COVID, that you thought, okay, I'm going to do things differently. If you're that person, you need to come to the event. There's no questions asked. This is going to restart everything. This is the big shiny red restart button that you've been looking for or that you've been waiting for to appear on your desk one day. Obviously, we've covered a lot of ground. We've covered the current shift in the travel landscape right now and what it is that we need to check in. We need to check in with ourselves if we haven't done so lately, because you are important and your happiness in your business is equally as important. We spoke about the importance of creating internal boundaries within ourselves inside of our business and discussed the role of the traditional travel agent and how that has taken years to get to where we are today, and how more than ready we are to break the mold to continue welcoming happiness into our work life. We dived into the topic of time blocking and why we need to set an agenda for our business in advance, and differentiated the different types of flows, so productive states versus creative states, and how to honor them both inside of your business. We spoke about input versus output in business, the difference between them both, and why they both have a very vital place in, our everyday life to successfully crafting out a truly aligned and happy travel business. And last but not least, we talked about assessing your own return on investment when deciding on anything that you do inside of your business, whether it's financial, energetically, or mentally. Once we start seeing everything that we do inside of our business or for our business as an investment, we will be in a much happier, profitable, and secure place within ourselves.